In my last video, I bought a button maker and made some pinback buttons for my Ita bag. And ever since then, I've been thinking about actually turning my designs into ones I can sell. I know a good amount of people like my art, another good amount of people like the mafia links, and while doing research on buttons, I realized there's a lack of mafiosos men in merch form. So naturally, since I've already made designs for my bag and I've already been wanting to open an Etsy shop, I think it's finally time to sell some buttons. Honestly, since I already knew how the machine worked and I already had nice buttons, I thought it was gonna be easy. When I made the designs to sell, I wanted it to be well made. The designs didn't have to be so clear when I was doing the Ita bag, so I could easily just use printer paper. Sure, it wasn't exactly the prettiest method, but it worked. However, since these are planning to be sold, I would have to up my quality. The main thing I wanted to tackle in this quality was the printing lines, desaturated color, and the blurriness of the image. I thought adjusting the setting of the prints would help relieve those issues, but apparently it doesn't work like that. Setting print quality to high and following a few videos, I was hoping maybe I could get it to work on regular printer paper, and unfortunately, it didn't work. The paper would still have those print lines, and despite the color being stronger and more accurate to the actual image, it was still blurry enough for me to want to keep messing around. I wanted to get the print right without using too much ink, but considering I made one short regarding my printing issues... Why are you green? Yeah, that wasn't happening. At least I had another issue to focus on, and that was the design of the buttons. Something I had a little bit of an issue with when I made the pins for my bags was how it looked as a pin. Soldier's brownies weren't showing properly, Kappa Regime didn't have the little gubby in his bouquet, and Consigliere didn't have that strong red in his eyes that I wanted him to have. Contracty was fine. He always seemed to be the perfect one out of the bunch for some reason. I went ahead and focused on adjusting the designs to be better suited for pins, also switching the document to be in CMYK over RGB for printing. Putting the designs to an actual template for buttons helped a lot because I was able to actually see what was going to be part of the button and what won't be shown as much, as it'll be wrapped around the edges. I took some time on those designs, partially due to motivation, other tasks, and partially because I felt really sick. That's also why I haven't been posting. Sorry. But once the designs were adjusted and better suited for my liking, it was time to tackle the printing situation again. I tried to switch the papers just to test the water. Perhaps a thicker paper like cardstock would be able to handle it better. What's crazy is that it did work. The print came out better, no printer lines, but for some reason it was so inconsistent. When I first did the test print, it turned out pretty well. A bit dull, but you know, I thought it was the best that I could do, so I prepared a document, ready to print out an entire sheet. But for some reason, when I adjusted the document and printed it out, the result turned out so weird. The black color wasn't dark enough and it just looked really muddy. I didn't change any settings, I really just copy-pasted the design so that it would fill the entire page, and it looked so bad. I messed around with a few things and tried to do research, but I genuinely still don't know how it turned out like that. Eventually, I did enough testing that it jammed the printer nozzles, and so I think that was a sign for me to stop. I was honestly exhausted at this point, all the failed prints gave me a headache, and the jammed nozzles were enough to make me step back from printing. I was worried I wouldn't actually be able to make the buttons like I wished, and I would have to scrap the idea. But then I came across a video. Tai Harrow made a video testing out papers for buttons, and honestly, it was just what I needed. She compared matte and glossy photo paper with one of her button designs, and the button made with the glossy paper turned out so clean. Was glossy paper really the solution? There's really only one way to find out. So I cleaned out the nozzles, and I got glossy paper and tested it out. And honestly, it's perfect. Glossy paper genuinely saved all my issues that I mentioned before. The printing lines, the colors, the blurriness of the image, all of it was gone and I was able to end up with this. I made test buttons for all of them before fully committing and printing out a bunch of them. Then there's the process of cutting them out. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to record this part as I was just focused on cutting, and I didn't initially plan to make this a video, but here's an image of the stack after I cut them out. I planned to have at least 10 of them each just to start. I wasn't exactly sure how many people would be interested, so I tried to keep it small while also having a good amount just in case. Once the buttons were done, I wanted to package them up. When I got the glossy paper, I also went ahead and bought some of the bags for them to go into. So here's just a bit of time lapse of me packaging them up. I wanted them to be cute, so so I made backings for all of them using the same glossy paper. It's a simple design, but I think it's quite cute. So yeah, I set up my Etsy, the listing, and they're currently still up for sale if anyone were interested in buying them. I'll put a link in the description for them and maybe in the comments as well. If you were to take anything from this video, glossy paper is really nice for prints in general. With how vibrant the colors are and crisp the lines look, I'll probably be using it for prints if I ever choose to make some, and even then, the idea of that scares me with how much trouble I had on buttons. I really didn't think printing would be so frustrating, but you know, it's a learning experience. For those of you still watching, thank you for watching me struggle through this silly journey. I have a lot of materials still, so there'll probably be more designs soon, especially since I've been wanting to make a few new death pins for myself.